It's kind of funny if you, like a lot of people who sort of come from a trail or enduro riding background and then they get into adventure riding, right? And they get their gear and then it's cool, and then, you know, 9 times out of 10 you watch them, they'll run their moto helmet and they'll run moto gloves, you know. I've been that guy, you know, and you know, I remember on an 890 launch I ran a Bell Moto 10 helmet, which is the best ventilated helmets on the market, and in sub-zero temperature. It was the dumbest thing I ever did, right? So, you know, when you get into adventure riding, you get pretty smart about thinking about, you know, what you need to wear. But I think helmet and gloves are pretty, you know, are pretty key. So I've also made the mistake of wearing, you know, moto gloves and riding home in sub-zero temperatures and literally almost losing my fingers. So when the guys at Casston said, I sent me this Ixon top-of-the-line Ragnar gear recently, they're like, you know, oh, do you want the Ragnar gloves? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, let's have. But then I thought about it, and I used a couple of mates' gloves, right? And for someone who's used to sort of moto or enduro gloves, putting on a pair of full-blown roadie gloves, you know, feels like putting on some ski gloves, right? And you know, you control for your dexterity and you control for the bike, you know, it suffers as a result. So look, I had a chat to the guys. It turns out that they had you know, like a new glove on the market, and it's called an Ixon Gravel Air, and it's basically, you know, somewhere in between, you know, your padded enduro glove and a full-blown adventure glove. And Ixon, these guys, as you know, involved with MotoGP and, you know, make leather suits and gloves and all sorts of stuff for some of the top riders out there in MotoGP, so they know what they're doing. So anyway, I got a set of these things, and I reckon they're really, really good. And reason, a couple of things. I mean, you know, they've got protection, but it's mainly because it's just a perfect hybrid between that, you know, full-blown enduro glove and something that gives you enough protection, you know, for adventure riding. You know, a little bit of extra cushion. You know, they come with, I think, got a note here, it's got goat leather on the palm. But the cool thing is, right, I only wore, the first time I took them off and they sat there and it looked like my hand was still in them. So, which normally only happens when the things have conformed to the shape of your body after, you know, wearing the thing for months at a time. So cool that they're actually pre-shaped or pre-fitted to do that. So that's why they're so bloody comfortable. They don't scrunch up or anything like that. And you know, when you're doing long hours in the saddle, adventure riding, and quite often there's some pretty inhospitable conditions, you know, that stuff's important. You know, other little things as well too. It's just something as simple as they call it, you know, touchscreen compatible. So obviously there's some for your index finger. I tried, none of the other fingers work, but you know, you carry your phone on you, thanks for coming, you know, and having the ability to, you know, to actually, for this to work is huge, you know, like taking your gloves off every time, you know, shit fight. So, well, not shit fight, but just annoying. So just a really nice little sort of convenience. So look, these guys, I had a look through their range. Seriously, they do gloves from $70, just run of the mill, you know, hipster kind of gloves riding on your Deus bike around them down to the cafe, you know, right through to full-blown adventure gloves, which are heated, which I want to say are like $440 or something like that. They've got these little Bluetooth buttons on them and bits and pieces. So you know, for $150, these gravel airs, I think, you know, as I said before, I think are really good, you know, in terms of what you get from a protection and control and just feeling, you know, right. There might be a time where I'm doing more adventure riding and I step up to something a little bit more beefy and a bit, you know, a bit more road going again. But in the meantime, I think these things are awesome. And if you're a guy who's sort of like me, sort of spent more time on smaller, lighter, more agile bikes and getting into adventure riding more and more, these are certainly a good stepping stone, or maybe I ride with these things and just end up with these things. $150, bloody good.